What if everything you believe about spirituality is wrong? That might sound shocking, maybe even a little unsettling, but what if the truths we've been holding onto our entire lives are just illusions? What if we've been looking in the wrong places, following the wrong paths, and misunderstanding what life, the universe, or even ourselves are all about? Let's talk about it for a moment. For centuries, spirituality has been framed in very specific ways: religions, philosophies, rituals, and beliefs passed down from one generation to the next. And let's be honest, many of us are just going with the flow, accepting what we're told without ever questioning it. But here's a thought: what if those things, the very ideas we hold as sacred, are the reason we're stuck in confusion, frustration, and never feeling truly connected to the world around us? Imagine growing up being taught that there's one true way to understand your spiritual self, one true path to enlightenment or fulfillment. The very thought that this could all be wrong, that would shake your foundation, wouldn't it? But think about it. What if the idea of having a right path is actually limiting your spiritual growth? If you dig deep into the history of spirituality, you'll find that many ancient cultures didn't have these fixed, dogmatic systems of belief. They didn't rely on rigid structures or one-size-fits-all answers. Instead, they believed in a more fluid, personal connection with the universe, a kind of spirituality that was felt, experienced, and lived, not just taught or preached. What if, just like them, the real key to spirituality lies in our personal experiences, our own inner discoveries, and not in what someone else has told us to believe? Now, I know what you're thinking. But these traditions have been around for centuries. They must have some truth in them, right? Well, yes, but truths can evolve, right? What if the truths we've clung to have become outdated or misinterpreted over time? What if the answer to your spiritual journey lies in questioning everything you've been told, rather than blindly accepting it? Think about it. What if the true nature of spirituality isn't something external at all? What if it's about reconnecting with something much simpler, something deeper within you? We've been taught to look outward, to find answers in books, in sacred texts, or in rituals. But what if the key to true peace, understanding, and connection is found when you finally look inside? Could it be that spirituality is less about following prescribed steps and more about a deep, personal awakening that defies definition? The idea that there is no single right way, no correct set of beliefs, and no one true path could be one of the most liberating ideas of all. Instead of fitting yourself into a pre-constructed mold, what if you could build your own? What if spirituality is more about peeling back the layers of conditioned thought, society's expectations, and finding your own truth, your own unique relationship with the world around you? Imagine how freeing that would feel. To realize that you don't need to follow a rigid set of rules or doctrines. That the way you experience life is your own. You're not bound by anyone else's version of the truth, but instead you are free to explore your own. You get to decide what makes sense to you, what resonates with your soul, and what helps you grow. Let's take this a step further. Think about how much suffering happens because of our attachment to specific spiritual beliefs. Think about all the people who have fought wars, judged others, or lived their lives in fear because they believed they had to be a certain way, think a certain way, or worship a certain thing. What if that suffering could end simply by letting go of our rigid beliefs and embracing a more open-minded approach to spirituality? It's not about throwing everything out the window. It's about questioning the foundations we've been standing on and seeing if they're really as solid as we thought. And if they're not, maybe it's time to build something new, something that feels right for us individually. The truth is, spirituality isn't a one-size-fits-all experience. What works for one person might not work for another. What connects one soul might be meaningless to someone else. That's the beauty of it, right? Spirituality is personal, and it's meant to evolve with you. So what if everything you've believed about spirituality so far is just the beginning of a much deeper, more complex journey? So here's a challenge. Stop and ask yourself, what if everything you think you know about spirituality is wrong? What if you've been limiting yourself all along? What if the real journey starts when you let go of everything you thought you knew and begin again from a place of openness and curiosity? The answers might not come all at once, but that's okay. The real beauty is in the journey, the discovery, and the freedom that comes from embracing your own unique path. Because once you start to peel back the layers, once you stop chasing the idea of a perfect belief system and instead start paying attention to what feels real, what truly resonates with your inner self, you begin to notice something. There's a quiet truth beneath all the noise, a kind of knowing that doesn't come from books or gurus or ancient texts. It comes from stillness, from presence, from direct experience. And that's where it gets interesting, because when you let go of the need to have it all figured out, you create space for something entirely different. something alive. You start noticing synchronicities that once seemed like coincidences. You feel more connected to nature, to people, even to your own thoughts. It's not that you found a new belief to cling to, it's that you stopped clinging at all. There's this idea we've been fed, that if we're spiritual, we're supposed to be calm all the time, peaceful, glowing with some kind of enlightened aura. But what if real spirituality is messier than that? What if it's not about rising above the chaos, but being fully present in it? Feeling the full range of human emotion. Not numbing it, not transcending it, but embracing it, fully, honestly, raw. What if every painful moment, every doubt, every breakdown was a part of your awakening? Not signs that you're doing it wrong, but signs that you're finally touching something real. Because when the illusions start to fall away, it can hurt, can feel like your world is collapsing. But maybe that's not destruction. Maybe that's the beginning of truth. Maybe your soul has been waiting for you to stop pretending and just be here, exactly as you are. And the more you live from that place, the less you need everything to make sense. You stop chasing meaning like it's something far away and you start noticing it in the most ordinary things. A stranger's smile, the sound of wind through the trees, the heaviness in your chest that reminds you you're still here, still feeling, still human. You begin to see that maybe the sacred isn't hidden, it's everywhere. It's in the cracks, in the quiet moments, in the in-between spaces we usually rush through. The rituals, the symbols, the practices, they're not wrong. They're just tools. Maps, maybe? But no map is the territory. And if you spend your life clinging to the map, you'll miss the landscape. You'll miss the thunder in your bones, the ache of longing that points towards something deeper than language. You'll miss the wildness of your own soul. Because your soul doesn't want safety. It doesn't want you to play small just to fit into someone else's definition of spiritually awake. It wants freedom. Truth. The real kind. The kind that doesn't come wrapped in a mantra or sealed in a holy book, but the kind that rises up from your gut when you finally stop pretending. When you admit that you don't have it all figured out, and maybe that's the point. We spend so much time trying to transcend the human experience. But what if the divine lives in the human experience? What if enlightenment isn't rising above but sinking fully into the now? Into heartbreak and laughter and doubt and rage and awe and everything in between? What if your most divine moments are the ones where you stop performing and start being? And maybe that's why so many of us feel disconnected. Because we've been chasing after an ideal that doesn't exist. A perfect, polished version of spirituality that's more about image than truth. And all the while, life is here, whispering, come back. Come back to what's real. Come back to what hurts. Come back to what heals. Come back to you. You start to realize that your path doesn't need to look like anyone else's. That your weird questions, your contradictions, your resistance, they're all part of it. You start embracing the shadow not as something to conquer, but as something to listen to. Because even the darkness has something to teach you. Especially the darkness. You stop seeing negative emotions as failures and start seeing them as signals. Invitations. Invitations to go deeper. To meet yourself where you are, not where you think you should be. And slowly, you start building a spirituality that isn't borrowed. It's born. From within you. From your scars. From your silence. From your fire. And in that, there's something honest. Something raw. You begin to notice how much effort you use to spend trying to be spiritually good. And how freeing it is to just be. Not better. Not healed. Not enlightened. Just here. Awake to the mess. Awake to the magic. Awake to the moment. Because maybe real spirituality isn't about escaping your humanity, it's about diving so deep into it that you discover the divine hidden inside your flaws, your fears, your broken open heart. Maybe awakening doesn't look like light beams and levitation. Maybe it looks like holding someone's hand when they're grieving. Or saying I don't know and meaning it. Or crying in your car and letting it all be okay. Maybe the universe isn't looking for perfect people with perfect beliefs. Maybe it's just looking for real ones. Present ones. Brave enough to stay. Brave enough to feel. Brave enough to keep walking even when the path disappears beneath their feet. And once you stop needing the path to be clear, you start to notice it forming beneath each step you take. It's not paved in certainty, it's woven from trust. Not blind faith, but the kind that grows when you've fallen 100 times and still choose to rise. Not because you were told to, but because something inside you refuses to give up on the mystery. Because even in the moments when everything feels like it's falling apart, there's a whisper, keep going. There's more. And that more doesn't come with fireworks or a booming voice from the sky. It comes in subtle shifts. In those quiet seconds when you suddenly feel at home in your own skin. When you look at someone and realize you see them, really see them, without judgment, without expectation. When you stop needing to explain or prove anything and instead just exist, deeply, truthfully, completely. You begin to see the divine not as something out there, but as something alive in here. In your breath. In your brokenness. In your ridiculous laughter. In your loneliness. In your hope that just won't die, no matter how heavy the world gets. The sacred stops being something you chase and starts being something you notice. And when you live like that, every day becomes a kind of prayer, unspoken, unstructured, real. And as you walk this path, your path, you begin to realize that the greatest spiritual act might simply be showing up as yourself. Not the perfected version. Not the polished one. But the real you. The curious you. The one still asking questions. The one still healing. The one still wondering what it all means. Because maybe, just maybe, that's where the real truth lives. So if this stirred something in you, if it made you pause, reflect, or even feel a little uncomfortable, that's a good sign. That means you're alive to it. You're listening to something deeper than noise. And if you're still here, still watching, then maybe you're one of the few willing to explore these questions without needing to have them wrapped up in tidy answers. If that's you, if this message resonated in your gut more than in your mind, then don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with someone who's searching, someone who's questioning, someone who's ready to peel back the layers and find what's real. And if you want to keep diving deeper into the raw, the real, and the unfiltered truth of what it means to be a spiritual human being, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. This is just the beginning. Because the journey doesn't end here. It never does. It just keeps unfolding, one breath, one choice, one awakening at a time.